Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, there's something about real people telling real stories that just makes me feel all warm inside. And you know what? If you're within the sound of my voice, you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more, in a light and in a conversational fashion. And you know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you do, because let's face it, you're listening right now. And if you are listening, then subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, give us the old 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere, places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on the social media. The Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Threads, the Letterbox, the God knows where else we're doing stuff at In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it even more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us that kindness and pay us a visit. Well, we got another good one for you in theaters right now. It is Collin Uniting, and it's a familiar story. It follows 6 best friends from college who are all now in their 40s, reconnect for their 25th anniversary reunion weekend. But secrets are revealed, and one will force them to all reevaluate their lives and sort of understand where they're at. And I mean, this is a real human story, and I mean, it's one we've seen before. There are obvious comparisons to something like The Big Chill, but this is a very humanistic and very sort of real story that's really super easy to engage with. It's from writer-director Laura Adkin, and it stars Jesse L. Martin, other Canadian actors like Roger Cross and Bronwen Smith, and it's really, really an excellent little character piece. If you want to go out this weekend and support some Canadian independent cinema, this you would be hard pressed to do better than this one. Like I said, it is in theaters now, but in advance of this coming out, we had the unique pleasure of sitting down with writer-director Laura Adkin to talk about making the film and inspirations therein and all that sort of fun stuff. And we had a great talk. But like I said, go check out Collin Uniting, which is in select theaters all across Canada now. But first, enjoy our talk with Laura, because as always, between you and me, it's a darn good one. All right, well, just to kick this off officially, obviously, just thank you so very much for the time today. I do genuinely appreciate it. And obviously, congratulations on the movie. I thought it was great.
Thank you.
Now, I guess my first question is, there's going to be some obvious comparisons to something like The Big Chill and
Yeah.
other movies along that line. And while obviously there's going to be a little bit, this felt different to me. And I mean, I'm curious, what was sort of the initial impetus for you to want to make this film and tell the story?
So I'm glad that it reminds you of those movies, because I love those movies. And that is sort of what sparked this in the first place. So I think like 10, 12 years ago, I don't know, I've completely lost track of time. But at some point a long time ago, I was at the Toronto Film Festival, and they were doing the 25th anniversary screening of The Big Chill. And the director was there, and most of the cast was there, and I went to it and I watched it, and I remembered how much I loved it. And then I was like, why don't we make movies like this anymore? Why don't we make these like ensemble irreverent dramas that deal with like deep subject matter, but through like witty dialogue and really character based? And I started to think about all the other movies that I liked from that time period, like Still Magnolias and The Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire, like all of those movies. And I just thought like, oh yeah, I want to do something like that. But I hadn't even made my first short at that point, so I wasn't really thinking about me making those movies. So it sort of filed in the back of my head. And then when it was time for me to start thinking about making my first feature, that idea kind of came back. And I have a good friend who's an amazing writer, and he recommended to me that I think about what do I have access to? So the first thing I thought about is this amazing talent pool of actors in Vancouver who I'm friends with, who are in this like mid to late 40s age range. And so that's where it started. Then I remembered this idea I had, and it kind of went from there.
Well, I mean, I absolutely love that. And I mean, I've got to ask though, because I mean, you've got a great ensemble here. And I mean, I like honestly, I'd pay money to watch Jesse Martin read the phone book. I just think he's
As would I.
how did you get this sort of ensemble together?
So it started off with me knowing I wanted to shoot it on Bowen. And so immediately thought of Michelle Harrison, who lives on Bowen. And I was like, oh, yes, she's totally going to say yes because she doesn't have to drive very far to go to work. But I'd always wanted to work with Michelle. I'd known Michelle for like 20 years. So it all sort of started with her. And then David Lewis, who plays Danny, is my husband. So that was pretty easy to get him on board. I just told him he was doing it. But it was also really fun because I got to write a character for him that he doesn't normally get to play. So he was really excited about that. And then with Bronwen, her and I have known each other for a while. We worked together at an acting school, and I had gone and seen her in a play, and she just blew me away. I could not believe her performance in this play. And it was like about science or something. So it's like I was like, oh God, what is this play going to be? And then it was so amazing, and she was great. And I'm like, oh, someone needs to put this woman in a leading role. So then when I had thought of the character of Carrie, as I thought of Bronwyn immediately. So it started out just with the three of them, who I knew all of them ahead of time. And then as I was writing and developing the characters, Roger came into my head for that character. I'd known of him. I'd met him a couple times, but I wasn't really friends with him. So Michelle introduced us, and he read the script and said yes. I was like, oh, thank God. And then Jesse came on board. That was all Michelle. I was really trying to figure out who I wanted to play this Michael character. We had some ideas. I wanted to bring in a bit of a name to sort of round out our cast. And Michelle and Jesse were working together on The Flash. And so she's like, why don't I ask Jesse? I was like, I'm sorry, Jesse L. Martin from the original Broadway cast of Rent? You're going to ask him if he wants to be in my movie? What?
Dale Martin from Law and Order? What? Really?
Yeah, I'm like, what? Oh my gosh. And he was actually also living on Bowen Island at the time. So again, very short commute for him. And yeah, he came to the table read and was like, yeah, let's do this. I was like, are you sure? You want to do my movie? And then, yeah, the first scene that we shot was with him and Michelle, and it was just fantastic. It was so great. And then Carmen came on board. We had actually cast someone else in the role originally, and then she had a conflict, and which it's great. Like, she got a role that paid her way more money than I could pay her, so that's
Well, no,
totally
it's hard to argue. Yeah.
totally made sense to me, especially during a pandemic when no one was making any money. So I was like, girl, go take your job. So we had to cast very quickly, and it was kind of a no-brainer. I reached out to Carmen. We had worked together before, and she's such an incredibly talented actress. And I just said, hey, you want to read this script and come to set in 3 days? And she read it, and she's like, yeah, I'm in. So yeah, that's how it all kind of came together.
With something like this, obviously shooting during the pandemic, and I mean, on a budget, I mean, how do you manage to get chemistry going? Because I mean, pieces like this are always so chemistry driven. And I mean, it's like, did you get table read time? Was there a lot of rehearsal time, or was it just a question of, okay, we've got 17 days, go?
Pretty much. So we had one table read over Zoom. I had really intended to have one day of rehearsal where everyone could just kind of like hang out and we could go through the script, but it was really to sort of get to know each other. But then we had built our entire schedule based on the schedule of The Flash, because Jesse and Michelle and Carmen were all on The Flash. And then someone on The Flash got COVID. So their entire shooting schedule was pushed. So any extra days that we had just like left, and our entire shooting schedule had to be completely changed. So we didn't have a chance to do that, but Carmen and Bronwen lived together on Bowen. They roomed together in an Airbnb, and David and Roger roomed together in an Airbnb, and Michelle and Jesse already knew each other really, really well. So it kind of worked out. Everyone kind of knew each other or knew of each other in some way. There was no one on the set that didn't know anyone.
Right.
So not all of them had worked together before, but they'd all been just sort of around the industry. And so we didn't really do anything other than just like hope it worked. And it did. I knew that all these people were awesome and I liked them. So I just assumed that they would all work together.
Well,
I just,
a little bit
yeah.
of faith never hurt anybody. Absolutely. I like that. Never hurts to have your cast all be at the same party, even though they never really met each other. No, that
Yeah.
worked very, very well. But I mean, I'm curious because obviously you've done some TV, you've done a few short films. I'm kind of curious, having now done a feature, is there anything about the experience that you didn't know then that you know now that you kind of wish you did?
I think a lot of it is on the producing side of it. Like I just didn't realize how much stuff you have to do. I have the most amazing producer, Krista Rand. Oh my gosh, like she just did everything. But there's a lot of stuff, especially after the fact. Like right now, we're doing a lot of stuff that I just never thought of, like just all the different deliverables and the different files and the different things and contracts and paperwork and lawyers. And you're just like, oh my God, I just want to make a movie. Why do I have to do all these other things? But I understand the purpose of that. So, if this is an advice thing, I would give like any advice is get a great producer. Find someone who just is so good at what they do and is willing to do everything, because Krista really was incredible during the shoot. We were producing the film together, but during the shoot, she really allowed me to step into being a director and not worrying about the other things. So that was really helpful. I feel like if I had been drawn into the producing while I was shooting,
Yeah.
it would have been way too much.
Well,
So
yeah. And I
yeah.
mean, in watching it, it really felt like you were able to give the actors room to work. I mean, not
Hmm.
necessarily, color outside the line, but at least sort of zigzag a little bit depending on how the material was going. Like, were you
Yeah.
someone who was sort of married to the words on the page, or did you try to give your actors a little bit of rope, especially going from like scene to scene?
I'm really, I'm a writer, so I really think a lot about my words. Um, what I'm really all about is collaboration.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, oh, just go say whatever you want. But if an actor comes to me and say, Laura, I really feel like this isn't working, or, maybe my character would do this. That's what I love, is like the conversation, because there's some things that if you ad lib or you change a word or something, it's great. It works with the scene. But sometimes maybe the actor doesn't know that there is like, you need to say that word because of something
Right.
that's happened later. So that kind of collaboration, I think, is really important. And, at some point as a writer and a director as well, it's, you have to let go of the characters. Like the characters don't belong to me anymore. The story belongs to me, but the characters belong to the actors, and they're going to bring something, 10 times better than I would ever imagine. So I think that's the thing for me, is like, let's have this open collaboration. There's not a lot of stuff in the script that was changed or made up or whatever. Um, yeah. Some of the stuff had to change because it just didn't work in the moment. And I'm the
Sure.
first one to be like, nope, this is not good. We actually had to reshoot an entire scene because I watched it and I was like,
That sucks. Do it
oh,
again. Yeah.
actors were great. I was like, this is not working because my writing is
This is
not
my fault. Yep.
okay. So then I rewrote it and we reshot it and it is spectacular. So, yeah, I think always being open to that and letting the actors really flesh out their own characters is really important.
Well, and I mean, it always takes a village, right? Especially to make these things, no matter how big the scale of the shoot is. But I mean, I'm kind of curious because obviously here you're writing, you're directing, you at least to a degree had your producer hat on. Like,
Yep.
is there a preference, or is like, I'm kind of curious because I can imagine there's a certain degree of freedom and just being like, okay, I'm the writer, this is what I'm going to do, boom, and then I can get to go. or I'm the actor, I can just do this, say my lines, and then go. But I mean, when you're having to sort of navigate all of it, I can imagine it's a different kind of weight.
Yeah. I mean, if it doesn't work, it's really just on you. There's really no one else to blame if it doesn't work. But at the same time, if it works, then, great. For me, I've pretty much only ever directed things that I've written. I would love to collaborate with a writer. I think that sounds very exciting to me. The one thing that's really good about directing something that you've already written is that I know the story inside and out. So if things need to change on the fly, it's a lot easier. But yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite. They're very different. Writing is a very solitude by yourself experience, which I love, where you just get to kind of be in your room creating
Totally,
imaginary
yeah.
events, right? Where it's just you. And then directing is a much more collaborative process. So it's kind of fun to do both. And I think my soul needs different things at different times. Like I need that time and space to just be like by myself. And then I also need that like collaboration as well.
For sure. No, I totally get that. And I mean, like we mentioned at the beginning, like this is a bit of a love letter to those character dramas like the 70s and the 80s, like Big Chill, like some of those other things. But I mean, I'm curious, and this is a dumb question, but it's one I always like to ask. Like, was there one movie that was kind of a light bulb moment for you, or was it even The Big Chill when
It
you saw
wasn't.
it originally?
The movie that changed my life was Jurassic Park.
I love it.
I was like 9 years old. I went to the movie theater and I sat there and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The entire experience of watching that movie just like changed me. From the sound design to the CG that had never been done before. And my poor mom, I feel so because I made her just take me back like so many times. And because I was not old enough to go by myself, she had to come. And one time she was just like, "Can I just leave my daughter in there?" And they're like, "No, you have to go with her." She's like, "I don't want to watch this movie again." But I was too young. I was like 9 or 10 or whatever, to sort of contemplate being a director or being anything like that. But I watched it and I was like, I want to do that. I want to be part of that. I don't know if it like part of me was probably like, maybe dinosaurs will really exist and then I'll hang out with I don't know what I was thinking, but I just knew that experience, I was like, I want to be part of this.
Well, I love that you brought that up though, because I mean, really, Jurassic Park is a very balanced sort of character drama,
Mhm.
except that they're running away from dinosaurs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing is, no matter what, I'm seeing all your DVDs in the background. I'm just like loving it so much that you have all of those. I have all of mine still too. But even if you have like a big action film, it is always grounded in character. Like a good action movie, a good dinosaur movie, a good
Yeah,
shark movie. If you have, if the story is grounded in character and relationship, like it's going to be good. One of my favorite actiony 90s movies is The Rock. And the reason for that is Ed Harris. Ed Harris plays that character so sincerely and so seriously that the whole movie changes. It could have been super campy, but you have so much empathy for this guy who's a villain. You see his point of view. You're sad at the end
yeah,
when he died. I'm going to say he died. If you haven't seen The Rock yet, I don't know what to tell you. It's like
exactly. No, yeah,
5 years
I'm
ago.
with you. I'm with you on that one. But I mean, that's such a good example because I
Yeah.
mean, he starts off as this bastard, but I mean, it just gets humanized and still plays it the same
Yeah.
as the story goes on. It was a fascinating performance, and you're absolutely
Mhm.
right. But I mean, again, I think that's what draws me into so many movies anyway, just being able
Yeah.
to see characters sort of deal with stuff and have it all unfold and see them evolve in the moment. I mean, that's the real joy of storytelling and filmmaking, especially
Yeah,
with
I
this.
agree.
I think you've made a beautiful film here, and honestly, I can't wait for more
Thank
and more people to
you.
see it. But I mean, just again, thank you for the work and thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you.
All right,
Awesome.
talk to you soon.
Cool. Okay. Bye.
And by the way, this is just a fraction of my collection, so that's
Oh
a
my gosh,
story
amazing. Can I
entirely.
just ask you a quick question?
Sure.
What's the movie for you
Uh,
that changed things that like affected you?
okay, I have a silly answer and I have a grown up answer, and I'll give them
I
both to you.
want both. please.
Okay,
My answer was Jurassic Park, so.
my silly answer is 1984's The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension with Peter
Amazing.
Weller and Jeff Goldblum, and he's sort of this rocket car scientist, but is also a rock star at the same time. And it plays it so earnestly, and I absolutely loved it. It was just one of those things that made me want to sort of get into film and storytelling and just sort of experience as much of that as I possibly could. My
Oh my God,
serious
that's amazing.
answer is Carol Reed's The Third Man. Just if only for the cuckoo clock scene and just everything in the all the just the way they shot it, and it was this emotionally engaging ride that I just absolutely loved.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love it. Fantastic. Well, thank you, friends, so much for this. This was very fun.
Likewise, and again, I can't wait for more people to see it, and good luck with the
Right.
release and everything that happens with it.
Thank you.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.